So our next panel coming up is all about the empowerment piece, the empowerment. And the panel is dubbed Educational Options for Community Empowerment. And our facilitator for this panel is another skillful person who is quite adept at these things. And I'll just introduce her as Jessica Lewis. Some of you will know her from Rock the Future, and some of you know her from La Lou. And Jessica, good afternoon. Welcome to Empowerment, Equity, and Accountability, the journey ahead. And I'll make way for you and take it away.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here and to be here with all of you for the afternoon portion of the conference. As he said, my name is Jessica Lewis. I am the Interim Communications Manager for Rock the Future Alliance, which is a cross-sector partnership working to improve academic and social emotional outcomes for kids across the cradle to career continuum. Again, I'm excited for the panelists who will be joining us for today's conversation. Educational options for community empowerment. And the first person that I'd like to introduce is Kareem Berry. And if
Jessica, we're going to move to the next one.
No problem. So let's
Thank you.
Bring up Amarah Anderson. And Amarah Anderson, she is a student at Nazareth College. She is a passionate youth worker and a peer advocate in the city of Rochester. And so Amarah, my question for you is, as a Nazareth student, you have chosen the college option as a pathway to your professional and personal empowerment. How has that experience been so far? And what advice do you have for the young people or parents of young people listening right now?
Well, I want to first start by saying thank you for having me as a panelist. My experience so far as a Nazareth student has been a learning experience for sure. I've been through like a lot of struggles. I started off as a commuter at Nazareth and later on in like mid-semester moving on to campus. But I started to see that self-determination is very important. That navigating, especially as a Black female on a PWI or predominantly white institution, it's important that you represent and you try to grasp the ropes while you can. And also it's important to have a lot of resources, a lot of networking within so that you have all the resources that you need in order to be successful and to really dive into the curriculum to further on education. And I also see that like my mental health was very important. So I had to prioritize, isolation, but not too much. It's important for me to like, kind of be in that corner to like kind of just reset and understand like where exactly I am. It's really new for me because I've always been in the city. So I just see people of color not really, being in an institution where it's unlike you. So I just had to understand that I had to learn the ropes and just try to continue to strive on while being in a new and learning experience and an environment, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And, I really commend you for having an awareness around that mental health piece because that is really important for students to sustain themselves as college students. Especially at a four-year institution like Nazareth. And what are you studying there?
So currently I double major in community youth development and psychology, and I minor in religious studies.
That's awesome. Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
Yes. And at this time, let's bring up Gerard Hunt. He's representing the MAPP program.
Good afternoon. How you doing?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm doing very well.
Awesome.
Doing very well. Glad to be here.
Yes, we're happy to have you. Gerard, tell us a little bit about the work that you are doing at MAPP and the MAPP program and how it can assist to empower Rochester and Monroe County's young people on their path to self-reliance.
Sure. Again, my name is Gerard Hunt with the Multi-Craft Apprenticeship Preparation Program, and I am the operations director here. The work that we are engaged with as far as empowering the community, young folks and not so young folks, is basically providing them with the tools that they can use effectively, hopefully, to enter the labor trades, the construction labor trades. Okay, we've been at this work for some time now, and I think we've seen a lot of success. It's a viable alternative to those who don't find themselves with a desire to go to college or some other type of educational opportunity. We work alongside all of the labor trade unions. That would be 18 of them. And we've been successful in placing individuals in each of them. The program basically is in 2 phases. The first phase, called Project Phoenix, allows participants who may not have had any construction experience at all to actually touch the tools, feel what it's like to get up at a decent time to be at work at 7 o'clock in the morning and working a full day to 3:30, 40 hours a week. Our program with Project Phoenix is a paid opportunity as well. We pay an hourly stipend to our participants, understanding that going to work all day, 5 days a week, takes a big chunk out of their ability to earn money. So it's a unique earn while you learn opportunity that also, on the other end, which is going from Project Phoenix to the MAPP program, Multi-Craft Apprenticeship Preparation Program, finishing these 2 phases basically virtually guarantees you a career track opportunity in the construction and building trades. That's the type of work that we are engaged in.
Okay, that's incredible. And this is actually the first time that I'm really hearing and learning about MAPP. And I want to know, for people listening in, if they have a young person, can they refer them to you? Or are you guys going into the schools to let students know, like, here's another opportunity for you?
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. We definitely we call it hand-to-hand combat. That's where we actually go into the actual communities themselves, walking on foot, handing flyers and brochures and things of that nature to cascade the information. If you or someone else is aware of a young person, male or female, that is interested in getting into construction, we certainly encourage you to refer them on to us. We can be reached at 1-844-1-MAPP, ONEMAPP. The intake process is very, very simple. You basically complete a 1-page application after meeting very, very basic requirements: high school diploma or equivalency, being age 18 to 40, having a driver's license and access to reliable transportation, and simply passing a drug screen. Based on an interview after that, you are brought into the program and we begin touching tools, learning about tools. We call that tools of the trade, and working with the tools. Also, during the Project Phoenix phase, we have trained instructors who are labor specialists in their respective trades as well. So you're actually guided by some of the same instructors that are in the labor unions themselves. You're exposed to the leadership of the labor unions in the Project Phoenix and MAPP program. So you're basically immersed in the culture itself of construction. By the time you leave, you're basically, you have a good idea as to the trade that you might like, whether that be tile setting, doing electrical work, plumbing work, carpentry work, masonry work, roofing work, being an operating engineer, what we call moving the earth, iron work, sheet metal work, heating and cooling. All of these are trades that we've been very successful in placing individual participants into.
Okay, that's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing. That's very good information. I know we have young people on the line watching, students from youth prep, students from teen empowerment. And so I'm glad that you share this information, because we know that there's many pathways after a student graduates in terms of career opportunities. And so the trades is a very important one. We want to make sure that our students are prepared. Thank you. At this time, let me transition to Shanterra Mitchum. She's here from Teen Empowerment. She's the Director of Programs at the Center for Teen Empowerment. And your organization was actually Rock the Future's Organizational Partner Award recipient, and we recognize the important work that you are doing for students in Rochester. So Shanterra, tell us about the work happening at Teen Empowerment and how that fits into our overall conference theme of empowerment, equity, and accountability, the journey ahead.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be on this panel. I'm also very excited to see Amarah, who is a former youth organizer from Teen Empowerment, and also she's attending the same school I went to for my undergrad degree as well. So I was really excited to see. Teen Empowerment's mission is to employ and train young people to work in collaborations with adults to create equity, equality, and justice and peace in our community. So that is our primary focus, but we do it from the perspective of what the young people want to do, what the youth in our community say that their needs are. That's the way that we focus our work. So we get young people from a variety of different backgrounds. We'll have young people who are straight A students on their way to college, also our most disconnected and our most marginalized students as well, because we know that if we want to create real change in our community, that we have to involve those who are often involved in the negative things that are also happening. And we realize that leadership looks different in different environments. And so we know that we have to tap into those leadership qualities of the young man that's standing on the corner, to the young lady that might be on the verge of dropping out of school and getting them back on the positive track. Those young people come together and they brainstorm the issues that young people deal with in our community. And so even this year, mental health came up, social media came up, addiction came up, and gun violence was at the top of that list. And so they are very much aware of what is happening in our community and what they want to do to change it. Those young people then take it and say, okay, what can we do? Right, as youth, right? What can we do to alter and change what is happening within our community to make it better? And so they come up with action plans, initiatives, and events. And some of those events are arts for social change. So they might do spoken word, they might rap, they might sing, they might create dances and plays and skits, but they're also hopping on buses, riding out to Albany, lobbying for legislative changes. So they're doing a myriad of different things so that they can change what's going on in their communities. And I think what's also very unique is that when we hire young people, we pay them. We don't ask them to volunteer their time. We pay them in order to get them to let them know that they are valuable and that they are the experts when it comes to what impacts them. And they get their peers to then attend the different initiatives and to receive those different messages. And the young people we hire have to be from our community. They have to look like our community. They have to feel like our community. They have to be representative of the community that we are working in, because they know, right? And so when we hire young people or we hire people who aren't connected, who are disconnected from the community, it's hard for them to actually create change. And so we hire young people that are from the community. And that is what we really pride ourselves on doing, really involving young people from many different backgrounds and saying, what can you do? What can you do to create this change? And how can we as adults support what you want to do in the community?
I love that. And I think that's what sets teen empowerment apart. You know, I think the way that you engage youth is very unique, because I believe that centering youth voice is critical. They should be co-developing the solutions in terms of outcomes, you know, things that they're looking for. You know, this is their life. These are their peers, their friends, people that they interact with. And minus their voice would be doing a disservice to us in terms of
absolutely
preparing them, yes, for the future. So great work happening over there. Thank you. Up next, I'd like to introduce Mubarak Bashir, my former colleague at the Urban League, now with ABC. Hi, Mubarak, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Not too bad. Mubarak is the Vice President for the Division of Youth and Community Services at Action for a Better Community. And why don't you tell us a little bit about the services that ABC provides in terms of educational empowerment for our young and not so young adults?
So first, it's an honor to be here. I was on a panel previously, but now I'm a staff member at ABC. So it is a different atmosphere, and you really learn a lot about the programs that we have when you're actually sitting behind the table and you're able to see the work that's done. So a lot of our programs are support educational empowerment. So first off, ABC operates one of the highest performing Head Start programs in the country. So education at ABC begins at birth. In our Division of Youth and Community Services, our focus on sufficiency department, we have our GD programs that helps individuals that have not completed high school. We also have classes for English language learners. So you can imagine people that are immigrants coming to this country, we're able to provide, help them learn the language. Also, they can work towards attaining their GED. So that's empowering in itself. We're giving somebody the skills to come in, integrate into society. Our Youth Services Department has programs geared towards young people, helping them maintain healthy lifestyles. And then we also have after-school programs where our young people are introduced to the arts. So what we've seen in a lot of our after-school programs is that 66% of the students that are involved increase or raise their GPA, and then 95% complete the goals that they've established as part of their youth action plan. And so this goes back to them giving them the power to decide what they want to achieve. They create that action plan and they're able to achieve that. 95% of them are able to achieve that. So one thing I have to discuss, because I think everyone was impacted at the height of COVID, was the digital divide. And during that time, ABC was able to provide or distribute 2,000 Chromebooks to anyone that needed a Chromebook. So we had a lot of young people that were able to attain a Chromebook, and their education or learning never stopped. So as learning went online, we were able to provide that and make sure that people still had access. So this is a very key piece to some of the work that ABC does. Along with that, 100 of those Chromebooks were given to senior citizens. So we know it was city residents, senior citizens were some of the ones that were largely impacted by the digital divide. And on top of that, we had staff that was able to train the senior citizens and other people on how to use those devices. For those that didn't have internet access, we were able to provide hotspots as well. So we were able to remove some of the burden as all those different issues were impacting our communities. So aside from this, we know that communities of color are impacted disproportionately in terms of health. And so I think it will be a disservice for me not to speak to some of our programs that are geared towards educating people on health. So we have our Action Front Center that works with individuals with HIV and AIDS. So when I started at ABC, one of the very first conferences that I attended was organized by the Action Front Center. And it was just great to see people that have been impacted by HIV and AIDS get up on stage. And it was difficult for them, but now they're empowered where they're getting up, they're speaking about it, and they're able to educate and inform other people that are going through some of the same things that they're going to. So that was really, that's that empowerment piece, getting people to feel comfortable with themselves. Our New Directions Department assists people that are impacted by drug and alcohol. And then we also have our Community Development Department that has programs that address vaccine hesitancy, specifically in communities of color. And then we also have programs that are geared towards educating people on the signs of a stroke. So these programs have the ability to save lives when people are educated and informed. So as I mentioned, education at ABC never stops, whether it's formal education, if it's community issues pertaining to health. We have programs for those that are looking for jobs. So we give them the skills and abilities to attain and maintain a job. And so our main goal is we want to ensure that people have access and that they're empowered to take a lead role in their decisions, and we're there to support them along the way.
That's awesome. I know ABC is a fully comprehensive organization. I'm so glad that you shared everything that you guys are doing for those who are tuning in today. And let me go back to Gerard, because we did have a couple of questions. And so I want to share those. One person asked if you have a list of Rochester labor trade companies owned by people of color.
That are actually signatory contractors or simply do construction?
It just says labor trades company, so perhaps just maybe do construction.
Okay, well, we don't have a list. There is not a comprehensive list. One of the reasons that MAPP exists is to help facilitate, get Black folks into the construction trades and actually thrive and be able to take care of their families. Okay, so unfortunately, we don't have a list, but I will tell you that that is something that is on the horizon here at MAPP to directly address, because you have a lot of skilled tradesmen who are Black that
Mhm.
have not had an opportunity remotely resembling the type of opportunity that we've built. So if someone is interested in getting in, becoming a journeyman level tradesman, mastering their craft, then of course they can take the next step and actually become a contractor. We do work with some of the contractors that we are aware of, but there's no comprehensive list that we have on hand. If there is one, we would love to get our hands on that to engage them. Their services, number one, but also to engage them in the work that we're doing.
Sure. And I imagine some, if they've gone through the certification, might be on the NWBE list. I know Jerome, he mentioned La PR. I'm also an entrepreneur, and so I'm certified, and they do have a comprehensive list of everyone who is certified in the state of New York.
Right.
In the second question, Gerard, it says they're wondering, do you face any issues with attrition or lack of DEI in trade unions?
That's one of the reasons that we exist, again, is to address directly these types of issues. And we're making headway in that. Again, construction is a multi-billion, if not trillion-dollar industry, an industry that inroads need to continue to be made. And we're in the fight to try to do that. It's really as simple as that. In this age of a heightened consciousness of DEI type of efforts, the cover has been pulled back, or the curtain has been opened to the inequities that the Black community has faced. However, I can say on a much more positive note that the trades, the construction trades, are very open to opening their doors. So we need to take advantage of an opportunity to get into a labor trade union now, for sure. There's billions of dollars of development that is going to take place throughout the Rochester community, the Monroe County community. And we endeavor to ensure that full participation is made available for this boom in construction.
Yes, and with that, another question just came in. It seems
Mhm.
that students are still being pushed to college regardless of desire to go. And many
Exactly.
many aren't clued into options outside of that. And they want to know, how are you getting information to young people about the trades? And I also add, how can folks on the call listening in, learning about MAPP, help to spread the message about your program?
Well, you can spread the message by steering people, number one, to 1-844-1-MAPP to begin with. If I can answer your question, I guess, relatively broadly, we do work with the schools. Some schools, when we initially started the work, there was great hesitancy as to the viability of the idea. It's really of late that people are catching on to the fact that within 4 to 5 years, you're living in the middle class when you go into the construction trades. For example, over the last few days, we've placed 3 people with the Sprinkler Fitters Union. That is a nationwide jurisdiction. In other words, if there's a job or an opportunity, a work opportunity anywhere in the country, you have the right to go and fill that job. Because of that, right now, 2 of our participants were drafted into the Sprinkler Fitters, and they're going down south. To give some of the high school students an idea as the type of compensation in that particular arena, they'll be looking at about $1,100, $1,200 a week, and over $800 a week as a per diem, right out the gate, as soon as they start. That's provided they show up to work on time, every day, sober, coachable, ready to work. You can make that kind of money. 6-figure incomes in the construction trades. Students should have long had the opportunity to know about these kinds of opportunities. You go out to suburban type of neighborhoods, and in the high schools, the information is plastered everywhere. So young people are familiar with that. You have 25-year-old tradesmen driving around in $80,000 trucks. There's a reason for that. That's because they have a good career in construction. The local school district, the city school district, has picked up on the opportunity, and they have been reaching out for us to come out even more. We have a couple of tours in the next few weeks. We are located right next door to East High School, and there are a couple of counselors who actually walk their students over to our school right across the street. Students are amazed. We have School of Inquiry. They've been here on a few occasions. Edison Tech has committed to working with us to expose students even more to this particular opportunity. In other words, if you get into a MAPP program and you're successful with it, you successfully complete the program, you're virtually guaranteed a seat in a given trade.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. And thank you for sharing your location too, because I didn't realize that you guys were next door to East, so that's great.
We're right here.
Awesome. Okay, let's bring up our NAS student, Amarah. All right, so why don't you tell us, what advice do you have for educators and organizations who provide youth development services regarding how best they can prepare our youth for life after high school?
Okay, so I wanted to just backtrack a little bit because I noticed I didn't say too much about the advice that I would give to the young people and parents, because that is very important when it comes to preparation for your college lifestyle. It's important that you have representation and role models around you that kind of mirror what you would like to see in your end common goal. And also just to I can't stress this enough, but scholarships are very important, and having those resources where, when it comes to paying for your books or just having to just different fees that come about that you just may not have accounted for. It's important that you just try so hard that you have that financial stability when it comes to being in college, and also just having that support system. It's many times where you're alone in your dorm, and you're life is hard, the schoolwork is hard, and you just need that outlet, just to see a text message or a call, how are you doing? It's very important. But the message that I'll give for the educators is really just funding for college tours, making sure that they have that access, that they have that broader view of what the college lifestyle will be like. And it's very important to acknowledge the struggles that Black students have when it comes to being on campus, because for me, I don't really have, I've kind of isolated myself because it's not what I'm used to. I've always been the lively kind of, in the crowd. But when you start to see you see a cultural difference when it comes to being on campus. And so it gives me for instance, when I got here for orientation, it kind of a teardrop because I was just this is so new to me. But definitely when it comes to educators, please, please, please try to empower the youth, try to give them a sense of identity, a sense of leadership, so they know how to navigate, they know how to network, they know how to make the connections, and have very crucial conversations when it comes to their education. And also just allow your educators to coexist, but give them that type of independency where you can be there for them to for you to be called on. But when you get onto campus and it's a whole game changer, because it's you're now independent, you have total say so over into what you want to do. And so you don't really have that teacher where you could just keep asking questions. It's a rapid pace, so you just have to catch up. So just allow, and specifically for juniors and seniors, when it comes to instilling independency, because that's something that I had to learn. When it comes down to grasping the information and learning, everybody is on different pace, but you all have to be on one accord. So just having funding, instilling empowerment and leadership into every last one of your students that plan on going to college. And once I just had to say this, but sometimes when you're I came from a city school district, well, the Rochester City School District, and sometimes you have teachers where they just give you like the I don't care speech, or like, I got my education, now it's time for you. That's like not the speech that you need to be giving them. You need positive affirmations, giving them the tools like you can do it, because it sticks with students. Sometimes we don't have those positive affirmations to think. We're kind of like flooded into all our work where we're just like, we don't know what to do, but just giving them that charisma, that light, that love, to know that you can do it. It takes us a long way. So yes.
That's wonderful feedback and advice. Thank you so much for sharing that. For those listening in, what I'm hearing is just having that empathy for students, pouring into them, knowing that there's life and death in the power of the tongue. And so, as an educator or somebody working with young people, sometimes you experience burnout and stress and frustration, but know that this is a life, and that life is in your hands and in that moment when you're working with them, and how important it is for the village also to wrap our arms around our students, our children. It's not just enough to be like, okay, well, their family to take care of it. You kind of have to step in. When you work with youth, you wear many different hats. And it's important for all of us to remember that. And so thank you so much for your words, Amarah. Thank you for just being honest, about what it takes to be supported on a college campus. And with that said, let's bring Shanterra back up because she's working with students daily. And what advice do you have for educators and those doing youth development work regarding how we can be more effective in empowering and preparing our youth for the future?
Yeah, so I'm the director at Teen Empowerment, but I'm also a former educator in the district. So I've kind of seen it from both sides, right? Being a student in the district, teaching in the district, and then working at a grassroots organization to really impact and change some of the things that exist within our educational system. I think what we all know is that our students deal with a plethora of different issues that are pervasive, multifaceted, and socio-historical, right? They've existed for a long time, especially for Black and Brown students, and that within our educational systems that our Black and Brown students have oftentimes been misplaced, mislabeled, and misinstructed. And so that makes it all the more important to tap into really a lot of what Amarah just stated. And she said a mouthful for us, but really tapping into understanding what their identities are. And it also makes those after school hours so much more important for organizations like myself who get students right after they come out of school. It's so important that students have an opportunity to see themselves. But then as a teacher, I also realized that I was teaching a curriculum that taught students that their history began with slavery, and if you stood up for what you believed in, you were assassinated or murdered, right? And so I, as an educator, had to take my own time and take the effort to say, I'm not teaching this narrative. I'm not going to persist this narrative. They get this from the time that they are babies up until they leave our high schools. And so I had to take the initiative to say, I want to shift and change that narrative. I don't want to start our history with slavery. I want to start with the tribes that existed in Africa, right? And so I actually had an opportunity to teach Black Lit as an instructor in the district. And so that's exactly what I did. I tried to change and allow them to see themselves from positions of power, to understand that many of the issues that our youth are dealing with is because they don't see themselves within the curriculum that we are teaching. And so I believe that our students must see themselves in the curriculum, in the educators, in the support staff, in the leadership, and that their history, their education, their lives cannot be electives. And that is the problem that I often see with education, is that in order to be in my Black Lit class, you had to have all of the credits that you needed to even take the course itself, right? And so you don't get that unless you've reached a certain point. And our history is not an elective, it's mandatory. And so we have to make an effort, especially if they're not getting that within the classroom, within our after-school programs, within our weekend programs. We have to make an effort to allow students to be able to see themselves. And I think Mubarak said something really powerful, that education starts from birth. So from the cradle to career, we need to be with them every single step of the way, right? When teens transition out of teen empowerment, we don't say, see you later, enjoy your life, right? They can always come back and say, listen, these are the supports I need. These are the resources that I'm looking for. Can you point me in the right direction? I've been to St. John Fisher. I've been to Nazareth to advocate for our students because I know what it's like going into PWIs and feeling very isolated and very alone. And so we try to provide that, but we also try to connect them with different resources. So when they transition out of our program, they're not just left in a community without any support. And so I do believe that there are elements that we can really do because we know what the issues are. We spend a lot of time talking about what the issues are. We've been diagnosed over and over and over again. And one thing that they say about Rochester is that we are resource rich and we are results poor. And so we have to figure out why that is when we're talking about racial disparities and economic disparities that exist within our communities. We have to study and analyze why that is, and then make an effort and initiative to say, we're going to implement different policies. When legislation is passed, we're going to make sure that that legislation is implemented, right? We talk about the school, eliminating the school to prison pipeline. Solutions Not Suspensions Act was passed, but how do we make sure that that's then being implemented across the board in all of our schools to support? And so I think the challenge for us is to step outside of our comfort zones as educators, to step outside of what we even feel like we know as youth directors, right? As people who do this work, and listen to the voices of young people, tap into what they say that they need, and then make an effort to challenge any system that denies them what they say that they need. And so that's my advice.
Wow, powerful. That was incredible. Thank you so much. So you said a mouthful yourself. You know, their lives can't be an elective. And I know when I was in college, I actually went to school to be a teacher, social studies. You know, and so when you think about history courses, so many electives are like, you know, people who are outside of the normal curriculum they'll teach, you know, in social studies classes. And in terms of why are things the same? Well, because the systems haven't changed, you know, so it's hard to see outcomes when it's the same system where racism is literally baked into the fabric of this very country. And we also have a capitalistic society, right? Like that is the very definition of the haves and the have-nots. So you're always going to see these disparities in wealth because we have a capitalistic system, you know, that we live in. And so it's like we're trying to fight these things. But again, it's baked into the very fabric. So systems work, which is what we champion at Rock the Future, is so incredibly important. So again, thank you. Back to Gerard, because I have a question here for you in terms of the many projects taking place in Rochester. There's so much development happening. We see, you know, these big signs going up. We see what's happening in the inner loop. How do you think we can position young people interested in the skilled trades to take advantage of the opportunities that come along with these types of projects?
Well, an easy answer is follow the map. We are definitely involved with as many opportunities as we can with all of the construction that's going on. I would seriously recommend or suggest that you refer interested parties, seriously interested parties to us. We are positioning ourselves right now to bring in the largest cohort that we've worked with at a time, specifically for these projects. And it's not only the inner loop. Everyone has heard of all of the Amazon warehouses and distribution centers that have been being put up in the area. These are very, very high paying jobs. You can be on them. You have the inner loop construction project, which is hundreds of millions of dollars. You have Li-Cycle that's going up. You have the, I forget the name right now, I think it's Micron. That particular project that's on the drawing board, that's over a $500 million project. You have the Buffalo Bills Stadium that our participants who have entered the trades, they'll be participating on. That's what you want to do, is contact the MAPP. Outside of MAPP, you can, I guess, call some of the labor trades directly if you wish. And the way that basically that works is, you know, you fill out an application and you take a number and wait for a call. With the MAPP program, you complete our program and you fill out an application and you actually receive a call. that, I think, if I can dovetail on what Shanterra said, as well as Amarah, we have to let individuals know, our young people in particular, what options and opportunities are out there, whether it be a college track or whether it be a real career track, as opposed to just making Johnny run down to Chipotle and fill out an application real quick. This is the reason why we are so far behind as a community, not just individuals, but as a community economically. When you talk about the wealth disparities and the wealth gap, is because we did not have access to or even knowledge of the opportunities that were actually available and out there. Resources, Amarah talked about this when you deal with your circle of influence, people that you know. Shanterra talked about the resources that are available in the community. Young people, if you're listening, there is a lot of resources in the community available specifically for you, but you have to go and take advantage of them. Again, you can reach MAPP at 1-844-1-MAPP, and we'll be glad to have you fill an application out and allow you to go into the middle class as well. And I'm saying middle class within 4 years. You'll be living middle class. Full healthcare, annuity, real weekly check, no joke.
All right, thank you. You heard it here first, people. All right, Mubarak, let's bring you back. All right, tell us, how do you think providing various educational options can help empower those that are systemically marginalized?
So I think some of it was just discussed, right? That the trades have been removed from schools. Not everyone wants to go to college. And a lot of my work prior to joining APC was introducing the trades to young people that didn't complete high school. And so I think providing various options can empower people because there's no one size fits all. And it also creates equity for an individual's learning. So people come to our programs specifically for their GED for many reasons. One, maybe the traditional school system just didn't work for them. So it's our job to figure out why it didn't work, and let's find out a way to make it work so they have success in attaining what they came here for. So our adult education, so educators in general, it's not easy. When we look at adult education, our instructors have to have a specific skill set to basically create different levels of learning. We may have someone that comes in at the 4th grade level. We may have someone that comes in at the 10th grade level. We may have someone that's 18 years old. We have some students that are 60 years old. So you can imagine what that learning looks like. There's definitely going to be different lesson plans and different learning skill sets that need to be learned or implemented for each specific or particular student. So a teacher that has a class full of students at different learning levels has that wonderful ability to create lesson plans that accommodate each individual's level. And so that right there is empowering because everyone feels that they're not left behind. They're on their path to success. So attaining a GED is very difficult. I remember when I was working at the Urban League and as people were going through their GED, it might be easier to stay in school if you can, right? Because it's not easy to attain a GED. Some people may have issues committing to the hours. There are so many other barriers that our clients face. So what we're able to do is we're able to provide online access. So that was another option. Someone may not be able to come into the building, so we're able to accommodate them by providing online access. We also have a program that puts people on the path to attaining a high school diploma. So now you have 3 options right there. So online, you can do your GED, or you can do the path to the high school diploma, which is self-paced. So that way, if someone can't come in, they can do that at their own pace. So just within our adult education program, like I mentioned, we have 3 options. The good thing about whether or not someone gets their high school diploma, they get a GED, they take our high school track, is at the end of the day, once they complete it, everyone's on the same level. Right? It doesn't matter if you went to a traditional high school or you came here through one of our GED programs. So again, that's another way that it's empowering because individuals are all on the same playing field. So options is very important because obviously something didn't work for each particular person for a reason. So figure out why, and then let's try to figure out ways that we can create different options to make sure that people have success when they come into our programs. So I also want to mention that options isn't just in regards to learning. they have to have other options as well. So when we look at employment programs, are you giving people options for what type of employment that they're looking at, or are we just trying to get them into any job? Because if we're doing that, they're not going to retain that job. It's just not going to happen. They're not going to be happy and they're going to leave that job. And so I'm excited with one of the other programs that we're introducing here at ABC is a retention training program. And so what we're doing is we're working with individuals to help them attain and retain jobs. And not only is this going to benefit our clients, it's going to benefit employers who are having a difficult time retaining employees. But along with that is that we've created relationships with employers from a bunch of different sectors. So you're not going to just get put into food services. You can go into construction, maybe healthcare, maybe food manufacturing. And so when you give people an option, I think it empowers them because they know that they aren't just put into something just to check a box or fill a number because we have specific goals or outcomes that we need to meet as an agency. So again, I think it's important that clients' goals, we just have it's important to know there are many paths to a client's goal. There's not one specific way. And then we just have to help them find one that best fits along their journey. And then ultimately, we just have to be responsible for providing those options. But again, when someone comes in and they're hesitant because they think that, oh, I have a GED. At the end of the day, once you get the GED, it doesn't matter, right? You're on the same path as everyone else that may have went through the traditional way.
Yes, I totally agree. I love what you said about career options, right? Giving people different options to choose from. And just last night, I was thinking, like, how incredible would it be for our kids to have exposure to different industries? So often, if you ask a little kid what they want to do, it's either going to be something in the entertainment industry or athletics, because that's what they see. Those individuals are making the money, they have this glamorous lifestyle. And for our kids who have skills like in music production, I just was watching an interview on 60 Minutes with this guy who makes movie scores, right? So the music that's played behind different scenes in the music, like movies, someone is doing that, right? So if you are a skilled musician or you have skills in music production, this is a job where you can make a lot of money. What's that?
I said, and they get paid very well for that.
Yes, they do, but our kids don't know. They don't know that that's an option, so exposure is so incredibly important. And Shanterra brought this up about making the curriculum relevant, right? So sometimes, staying in school is probably easier than getting a GED. I've seen that test. It's very difficult, but kids lose interest, right? For me, with a degree in social studies, we're not teaching them about them, or when we do teach them about them, the first thing we're teaching is slavery. You were in shackles and chains. Oh, well, that's great. You know what I mean? So you're already disconnected. And having people that look like you, in the classroom, at higher levels, your principal and assistant principal and your counselors, not just the cafeteria or janitorial staff, but from top down, it's important to have representation. So I see that in the chat, we're looking for questions, and I do encourage you to really tap into the expertise that you have here before you. So if there's any questions from the audience, we'd like to entertain those now. And for any of the panelists, if there's anything that you wanted to share, please let me just give you a moment.
So there's one piece, and it was in regards to accountability. And then what steps can we take to ensure accountability on providers, clients, and funders? I think that's an important question, specifically for the theme of this panel discussion. And so, I just want to give just a few steps as questions come in. So the first step, and it was mentioned, I believe, in the opening keynote, is that self-accountability. There has to be an accountability within each person to make sure that they're fulfilling their obligations. So providers, clients, funders, make sure we're holding ourselves accountable for what we said that we're going to achieve. Second, is that the mission of organizations should really be what's driving you to hold you accountable. So if we see ourselves stretching to find funding or mission drifting, that's not holding ourselves accountable. And so I think it's important that the mission is what is driving our programs, our services, and also that employees' hearts are in line with the mission and the work that we do. So that's another step. And then ultimately, I think when it comes to accountability, especially when you're working with clients, because I think there's different levels of accountability, is that relationship building is extremely crucial in the work that we do. And if you're not able to build those relationships, then it really does no justification. I say that because I had mentioned goals, right? And when we start to focus so much on goals that are set by funders, what happens is the clients that we serve become a number rather than looking at everything that's the issues that they're facing and really trying to address what we need to do to help them to get out of the situations that they're in. And I was reading something this morning that said our clients carry their whole lives with them into the classroom. And so when you think about that, there's more than just a goal. And if you can create those relationships with clients, the goals will take care of themselves because they're going to want to come back for that support. And often if you aren't reaching those goals, it's because people aren't coming in the door. They may have come to sign up for a program, but then they didn't feel that connection with the staff or with the organization, and then they leave. So it's very important that we build relationships with those clients, and then also to hold a client accountable. If we have those relationships, you can have those tough conversations with them and let them know, no, this is what you need to do. And I think that's very important. So I just wanted to mention that just because of the theme of this conference.
No, and I like that too, because funders play an important part, right? Like you have to put dollars behind these programs in order for them to be able to be carried out. And I think for funders, you know, they're the gatekeepers of the dollars. And it's important that, you know, they're taking heed again to what's being said in terms of the programs that they're choosing to fund, the organizations, looking at new organizations who are, you know, submitting requests and proposals and things of that nature. So I appreciate that. Shanterra, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so I got texted a question that I wanted to share with everyone. Tina Parmick got bumped off of the Zoom, but the question was, is there a centralized location to find all of this information from different organizations, or can one be created like through the city? And it's not a centralized location that I know of, just to address the question. And I want to hear from everybody else, but I think we have to make an effort to break outside of our silos and to really make sure that we're sharing information across organizations. So I remember even for the MAPP program, like when a poster arrived at Tina Palmer, right? So we had a poster for the MAPP program like hung up at Tina Palmer. And so how do we make sure that we consistently share the different opportunities, the different resources, the different programs across our sites? Because I think that is where, like, that's how we create a community safety net, right? When we are always aware of something that is happening within our community, something that is going on. So that was just my take on the question.
An iron worker who was at your event recently downtown at the King Plaza there. Yeah, she's an iron worker now. She is an iron worker. She's making very good money.
I think that's just the example. Yeah.
That's just an example. She is tickle pink, and I'm very, very happy for her. She had the skills and abilities. She just needed to be shown the door, where to go to get paid. Here at MAPP, we don't so much deal with a lot of what Mubarak spoke about. ABC does specialize in many areas of social work and is an incredible resource for the community. Here at MAPP, we pretty much look for those who are passionate about getting out of poverty and staying out of poverty, okay? Those who desire to have a middle-class life with healthcare. And we focus our energies to work with them. It's wonderful if we can refer someone who has the desire to get into construction, but they don't have a high school diploma or a GED. See, we can refer that individual to ABC, get their high school equivalency, come on back. Now we can move forward and get you where you need to be. We found a lot of handicaps. Young people, I would seriously suggest or recommend that you get your driver's licenses. Get one if you don't have one. If you have tickets, start paying your tickets off now if you've been driving without a driver's license. Okay, work on saving money to get a vehicle. There's billions of dollars that's going to be coming down within the next, say, 5 years. You want to position yourself to take advantage of that. And those two little simple things, and like Mubarak mentioned, once you get a high school equivalency or that high school diploma, you're in the game. You're in the game for a middle-class life if you want it.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you being here with us this afternoon, dropping those nuggets, sharing your own personal experiences. As you see in the chat, the survey is available. And then we also look to have a final word. So final word, we can start with Mubarak.
So my final word, I think I'll share my final word geared towards what Shanterra had just mentioned, the question that came in. And I say that because that goes back to partnerships and not holding on to clients if you can't support them and do the work. And I think that becomes an issue. If you can't, pick up the phone and find an organization that can provide that service and make sure that we're working together collectively to put someone on a path to success. If you look at every organization's mission, it's geared towards helping the community. So if we're holding on to people and we can't provide a good service, we're not really doing what our mission states. And so I think that that's a key piece, is that our staff need to pick up the phone, find organizations that can do the work if we can't, and then create strong partnerships. Because I think what I've been seeing is Rochester has really been moving towards working more collaboratively than when I moved here 10 to 15 years ago.
Thank you. Gerard, final word.
I would have to agree with that. And I have to roll back and let you know what our final word is. Straight out of poverty. I've been here, Mubarak, for 20 years, and I agree with you. Silos was abundant, and they're still quite strong, but there has been a very slow-moving gear shifting towards not holding on to people for grant money. What we believe here at MAPP is when you come in, you will leave straight out of poverty, if that's what you want. We don't do the head count thing for grants and all that. You come in, we prepare you to accept that career track opportunity, and then you're on that road.
Awesome. Shanterra, and then we'll close out with Amarah.
Yeah, I'm just gonna third all that was just said. But I think I want to say this because I feel like it would be a disservice to not mention the importance of intergenerational relationships and partnerships within our community, involving parents and grandparents and the elders of our community. The reason why I'm even involved in this ABC conference is a conversation with Elder Jerome. And so just making sure that we're tapping into all of that wisdom and experience and creating those partnerships where we can all learn from and support each other and understand that we are all in this together. And I just put a Facebook status up the other day that says leadership does not equal ownership. We don't own anybody. We are serving our community. And so we have to remember that we are servants and we do this for the betterment of our community. So whatever is necessary, we have to make sure that we're doing that. And so that's my final word.
Wow, way to put me after that. I'm just kidding. But I just wanted to say that I missed this point, but diversity brings inclusivity and inclusivity brings comfortability. So with whatever plan that you may have, even though it's go Naz and choose Naz, but just make sure that if you don't have a plan, you have an agenda and you have I know lots of times when I was in high school, people used to tell me, if you're going in college, you don't necessarily have to have a plan, but I think it's important to map out exactly what you want to do, because when you get into these spaces where you're kind of clueless and you're like stuck, it's important to like go back and be like, okay, this is what I want to do and this is my goal. So I just want to say, just try to empower yourself, try to keep yourself surrounded around positive people. And please, 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 if you don't choose college, choose education. So.
Absolutely. And again, our conversation, educational options for community empowerment. And with that, Mr. Jerome Underwood.
Thank you. Thank you to all of the panelists. And we got to say to the the participants, the attendees. You know, I've heard something, it's a commercial, I forget who did it, but it said, we don't plan, we improvise. And we have to let you know that, you know, Brother Gerald Hunt, you know, is standing in for Kareem MAPP on about maybe an hour's notice. So there's something that goes there. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready. And I've known Gerald for some time. And, you know, he doesn't need much prep time. Why? Because this is what he's been doing for a long time. And Jessica, thank you for such skillful and artful moderating. Mubarak, you're gonna get paid this week. That's good. You earned it. But the Shanterra and Amarah know that, and you all have said it, you know, us involving young people is a very, very deliberate act. You know, we are preparing space for you because, you know, leadership is not ownership. I think I heard that sometime. You know, we have to make space. And a special shout out, as Jessica mentioned, for the young people at UPrep over on Lake Avenue who's sitting in the room watching, and also the young folks at Teen Empowerment. Shanterra, did you say they got knocked out? Anyway, we know they were on. So this was for young people in particular, because again, back to our conference theme, the first word is what? Empowerment. But don't forget the accountability part, because we always have to hold ourselves individually accountable, and certainly those who are in leadership positions as well. And the journey ahead, because we know we're not anywhere near close to what we consider to be equity. So thank you to all the participants, the panelists. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm going to give a brief summary.
Glad to be here.
Yeah. I'm going to give a brief summary today. I've been taking notes all day. And, you know, in no particular order of significance, here's what we heard today. Just some of what we heard. Again, our theme: empowerment, equity, and accountability, the journey ahead. You know, we started off with a land acknowledgement and libation. Again, assuming a posture of reverence for the people whose land on which we're sitting on, and for the people who gave so much. You know, as Dr. Kia said, we're looking to give in return. A question, our keynote started off with a question: how are the children? How are Rochester's children? It's a very sobering question that we all need to consider. We heard about the necessity for community-driven interventions in order to restore or restructure our village. Community-driven interventions. Health providers need to, at a minimum, have respect for their patients, while also being active listeners to what these patients are saying. That's the minimum thread. If we're going to indeed reduce and eventually eliminate the health disparities, we have to listen to the people on whose behalf we're working on. When doing research, don't just send the BIPOC staff. It's not all on them. The drive towards equity should just not include BIPOC people. We cannot just put it on BIPOC folks. It's everybody's job to get us to that position where we eliminate all these disparities. Accountability is a must. It has to be a part of any metric in order to remove disparities. We can't have quality, and this was Dr. Kyler. We can't have quality without equity. We cannot have quality without equity. Trauma-informed care is something to be invested in. It should be a line item in everyone's budget if we're serious about addressing the social determinants of health. DEI should also include J, meaning justice. There should be measurable goals that can be shared with the community. The community wants to know what is going on with DEI, J for justice. Be mindful of the CDO for sure. Be mindful of the CDO for sure syndrome. This is a marathon. It's not a 100-meter race. And CDO is Chief Diversity Officer. Be careful of that being the flavor of the month. Young people, and this is Amarah, young people need positive affirmations and a support network to help guide and also listen to them. Again, young people need positive affirmations. If you're not mentoring some young people, please find some. Please find some. They need us. And to tell the truth, we need them. Students at every level of education should see themselves in all curricula, not just in the electives. And finally, relationships are the bedrock of good health. Relationships are the bedrock of good health. There were so many more nuggets that were shared today, and those are just but a few. And this brings us almost to the close of day one. A couple reminders. We'll see you back here next Thursday at 9 a.m. sharp, and a number of you came in at 8:30. We'll be ready for day two, where in the morning, the panel will be addressing closing the racial wealth gap. Last year, we introduced the lexicon, and we introduced, the term greenlining into the lexicon. And we're going to be expanding that conversation next week. And in the afternoon, we're going to close out the virtual portion of the conference with addressing the very, very crucial issue of violence prevention in our community. Deliberately, we're going to close with that because, we need some outrage. It is not okay what's happening with respect to violence in our community, and we're going to focus on prevention activities, and we have an amazing panel and an amazing keynote lined up for that. Once again, thank you. Go to www.abcinfo.org. There's still tickets available for our breakfast that's coming up on January 26th. Thank you once again to all of our sponsors, who have made this possible. Thank you to ABC staff, and thank you to the amazing planning team who has put this conference together. It is our pleasure to bring this content to you as professional development, and we look forward once again to see you back next Thursday. Thank you for filling out the surveys. We'll be sending that out again. Those of you who have filled them out, thank you. We need that feedback because we want to look to continuously improve what we do all the time. Have a good afternoon. Peace.